Hello guys and welcome back to the Traitors UK, and today we have got a lot to talk about. Not only are there 3 people fighting their way back into the game, but we also have another very tense murder and an equally tense banishment around the round table. Guys, this episode was kicking off last night. It was insane and I'm super excited to dive straight into it with you guys. But before we do, make sure to like, comment and subscribe. If you're new to the channel, join us, become part of the Ranters, and I will have lots more reality show updates for you in the coming weeks, especially to do with the Traitors. So without much further ado, let's get straight into the action, shall we? So I'm going to start with breakfast, because we need to find out who was killed off. I'm going to talk about the real replacement a little bit later, but we're going to talk about breakfast first. So we started off with Tyler saying the immortal words that nobody should ever really say in the Traitors, because you just know that they're going to use it in an edit of you doing the complete opposite. But Tyler was like, I think Kaz and Freddy are the traitors. And then he said immediately after, I think I'm clever. And I was like, no. This guy's been mugged up. This guy has been absolutely mugged off. He's been mugged up, down, left, right, everywhere. Because what do you mean? He's just said, I'm 100% sure that these 2 are the traitors and neither of them are traitors. Oh my god. Guys, it's absolutely ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And then you've got Kaz coming in trying to prove he's innocent, and it's just like, oh, mate, it's just not working, is it? It's not going well for you, bestie. I'm so sorry. I really wish it could have gone better for you, but it just isn't. And then we got, obviously, Linda sitting there going, I wonder who is going to be coming back, giving an Oscar-worthy performance. Honestly, I cannot believe that she went from being the most heavily suspected person in episode 1 to not a single person mentioning her name around the round table. That is absolutely insane and crazy, and I just think it's incredible. I just think it's her power, do you know what I mean? She has fucking no idea what she's doing, and she's just trying her best, and she's delivering an Oscar-worthy performance. And she's just incredible. She's an icon of a woman. But sadly, we found out who was murdered. Remember, it was between Charlotte, Maya and Freddie. I said Maddie and Freddie together. That was... Nah, there's no Maddie in this series. Where am I getting Maddie from? Thinking of season 1, obviously. But Maya was sadly the one to go. And I think they chose the right person, personally. I feel like out of those 3, the one person that they could guarantee taking out that wouldn't bring it back to them was Maya. And it's one of those things that a lot of people were like, oh, well, that kind of clears Freddy. And then other people were like, no, it doesn't. But we'll get into that in a second. It was very sad to see Maya go. I liked the energy of the sisters, but I feel like they were a novelty act. They were here together, and without the other one, they didn't quite work together. It's like, you know how like when Diane was killed and then Ross kind of went on his villain arc? Yeah, it didn't really work without like the other one there to kind of balance them out a little bit. So I'm glad that they got chopped. So there is a group forming that is becoming a little bit dangerous and is becoming a potential threat to the traitors. We've got Tyler, Livy, Leanne, and Leon. They are a tight-knit group. They all believe that each other are faithfuls, and obviously they are all correct. So I feel like there is an element of danger there for the traitors. They start to talk about their feelings, and Leon is very much on the Kaz hate train. He's like, I think it's Kaz, I think it's Kaz. Whereas Livy, Leanne, and Tyler are now thinking it could be Freddy, and they're thinking that maybe Freddy tried to double bluff them by killing off the one person that is their biggest sort of like person against them. And I was like, that's what I've been saying all along, is it is the perfect double bluff, and they've called it out but on the wrong person, because he hasn't done any of the killing. It was so funny, and it was obviously meant to set Freddy up, but obviously his thing was like, why would I do that? That's the most obvious move that I would have done, so why would I have done it? And then Livy was like, well, it's the perfect double bluff. And I was like, she's got a point there. She actually does have a very good point, because I've been saying that all along, so I can't even take that away from her. But I think the whole group is dangerous. It's very, very peculiar. But then you've got another little like group, not forming like officially, but they started to talk about Anna. And Lisa was bringing up the fact that Anna was the first person off of the boat in the last challenge, and she went to go tie it up at the correct post, and then she changed her mind and ran back to another post, and then barely tied it up, so that the boat started to drift away, and it almost gave the vibes of like she didn't want some people to get off the boat, so that she could minimize the amount of people getting the shield. And I was like, that is a very, very astute observation. And I actually think that's a very, very good bit of information to bring up at the round table. Because had she have done that intentionally, that could have been something that really caught her out. But I think Anna's just incapable of just doing anything at this point, do you know what I mean? So we head into the mission, and they're brought into the clearing, and they look up and they go, oh my god, there's 3 cages, and in those cages are Jack, Alexander and Fozia, which I was like, oh, that's fun. They brought back the 3 people from the train. That's a good twist. I mean, I was half expecting it to be returning players, and I thought that would be cool, but I guess we'll settle for the 3 that we axed from the train, I guess. Of course, whatever. But anyway, the idea of this challenge was there was no time limit. They just had to find gold coins, insert them into the slots, and essentially they had to lower the cages by filling them up to a certain amount. But obviously there wasn't enough gold coins to save everybody, so they could only save 2. And it became pretty much like a popularity contest between the 3 of them, which I found very funny. So we obviously had the 3 standing up there, and Claudia was like, yo, guys, tell us why you should be saved. And Alexander's like, well, I'm good at like talking. I'll be good around the round table. I'll be good at fighting the traitors. Your Fozia being like, don't forget who stepped off that train first. Bring me back in this motherfucking game now. And then you've got Jack going, well, I'm 6'5", I'm tall, and I will help you get some money for the prize pot. And I thought at that point, nobody's saving him. Nobody's saving him because this group does not care about money. They don't care about it. They literally gave away 5 grand in the last challenge just for funsies, just for the fun of it. They'll literally be playing for £2 on a Tesco's Club card by the end of this series. And I am howling at that. That's hysterical. Because what do you mean that they're doing all of this for nothing? I think they're up to like 20k at this point. And I'm like, after 4 episodes, you're up to 20k. And 7k of that you just got for free in the first episode. Like, come on. Get a grip, will you? But anyway, that was the mission. Obviously, they chose to save Fozia. That was a very, very dead cert. But then between Jack and Alexander, it came a little bit close. But fortunately, I was kind of happy that Alexander was saved, because I feel like Alexander is a interesting, good asset to have in the game. I feel like Jack would just be as fucking clueless as everyone else. And I feel like we need someone with Jack's intellect to... Not Jack, Alexander's intellect to kind of come in, start picking things apart. Notice at the round table that he barely said a thing. I think he was just observing everybody, and that is going to come in handy. So, before we head into the round table, that's the word I was looking for, we're going to talk about some suspicions and some little discussions that happened beforehand. Now, there's 3 main things that I would like to bring up. The first is involving Freddie. Now, Freddie was kind of sat down by, I think it was Dan, Joe and Tyler, and was asked like, yo, Freddie, like what's going on? What's all this about you being a traitor? And Freddie was like, listen, all of the evidence that is surrounding me is circumstantial. You've got me being blamed by Maya because she got a vibe just because of one thing that I said, and then you've got the fact that she died the next day. How does that make me the suspect? Like, surely that would exonerate me because someone's trying to set me up to make me look bad. And I was like, that's a good point. And then they were like, well, why would you vote for Armani instead of Maya, the person who was accusing you? And he was like, well, let's be real. I was doing it for self-defense. If one of us has got to go, I'm voting for the person who is going to go. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to vote for her to try and get a vote off of me and make sure that she goes home. And I was like, yeah, do you know what? Even Dan was like, yeah, that's smart. That's a smart gameplay. This is the thing I like about Dan is it Dan? Yeah, the autistic guy. He's just very, like, into the game. He knows exactly how to play this game, and he's playing it very, very well. And I am impressed with him. But I also feel like he's not revealing his hand too much to the point where the traitors are suspicious of him. Because he's very tight with Mina, and I think he's got a good relationship with Linda, but obviously he doesn't know they're the traitors. But it's almost like he's tempting fate by revealing, like, little tidbits to people and seeing whether that, like, yields anything. I think he's playing a very good game currently, is Dan. I think he's doing quite well. He doesn't have a clue who the traitors are, but he's playing a good faithful game in terms of surviving and not getting murdered or banished. But obviously, outside of the room, we've got Anna, Livy, and Leanne just eavesdropping on the conversation. And then they hear that, like, Anna's name's being brought up for a banishment. And then they're like, what? Oh my god. Oh, what the hell? Oh my god. I don't know why they're suddenly American, but they are. And I just thought, like, the whole thing was kind of ridiculous, I can't lie. Like, it was just a bit pointless. Like, I'm just kind of sat here like, hello? What is going on here? Hello? Yeah, it was kind of dodgy, I can't lie. I was just sat there like, why are you eavesdropping? Just come in and be bold, do you know what I mean? Just be bold, be out in the open. Don't do this silly little earwigging conversations. Then we had the unfortunate moment where Tyler, Livy, and Leanne, and I think Nina was in the room at the same time, they kind of cornered Tyler and were like, yo, like, we've got to go for Freddy tonight. We've got to go for Freddy tonight. We've got to go for Freddy tonight. And Tyler's like, yeah. Cool. And then Kaz walks in and he's like, I can't talk now. And it just makes the room so tense and awkward. And it does really feel like the group is kind of ostracizing and excluding Kaz. And it just feels really awkward and uncomfortable. Like, even if I was in that castle and I was wanting to have a conversation with somebody and somebody walked in that I didn't want to have that conversation, I would change that conversation and I'd include them. Because I'm like, do you know what? I can have this conversation with you later. I don't need to have it with you right this second. I would hate to feel like I was excluding someone because I know how that feels and it's not great. So I just feel like this group, not a very nice group of faithfuls in terms of like the way they treat each other. It is just a little bit toxic at times. But I also wonder whether they're all just so focused on the game at this point that it is becoming less of a friendship thing and more of a just a game thing. And some people aren't quite in that headspace like Kaz. I don't know what's going on, but it did just feel a bit mean, them kind of just excluding him. It felt a bit mean-spirited because he kind of had to just go eat dinner on his own, and it was like, this is so sad. The final thing that I noticed was that Mina has kind of clocked the fact that Livy, Tyler, and Leanne have got some kind of a trio going on, and she's worried that that could potentially be a problem in the future. Now, I was sitting there and I was like, that's a good point, actually. She needs to start thinking about strategically which one of those three can we get rid of. And I think the smart person to get rid of would be Tyler or Livy. I don't think Leanne's that big of a threat currently, but I think Livy and Tyler are very vocal around that round table and could potentially suss Mina or Linda out. Who knows? So we have a tale of 3 traitors in this round table. And by 3 traitors, I mean 3 completely innocent people who are being blamed by the other faithfuls. It's really funny to watch these people struggle around the round table because they came up with 3 very solid foundations. 2 very solid foundations for who could be a traitor. And then there was Kaz. And I was like, yeah, they've just got nothing on Kaz. They just don't like him, and it is coming across a little bit. Ooh, not good. But the first table discussion was brought up by Dan, basically asking Anna, yo, I just don't feel like you're genuine with me. I just don't feel like the interactions that we have are true. I feel like you're keeping something from me. You're lying. You're doing something mad. Then Lisa was obviously like, you didn't really like tie the boat up properly, and that could mean that you're a traitor. And I was like, listen, that bit of evidence, fantastic. Wrong, obviously, because she's just bad at tying up a knot. But also, I did kind of agree with whoever said it later on, like, you don't have to be, oh, it was Linda, you don't have to be a sailor to know how to tie a knot. And I was like, yeah, that's actually a really good point. Why would you just wrap it round? That's not doing anything. You have to tie it, otherwise it is just going to unravel. That was like the most stupid thing I think I've ever seen anybody do. Like, that's not even just like, oh, I don't know, you don't have to be a sailor. It's just common knowledge that if you want something to remain in a place, you tie it up. It's like if you were to like put your dog on a lead and you just like sort of wrapped the lead around it, the dog's going to wander off. The dog's gone. Anna, how many dogs have you lost? Like, that's what I want to know. That's the questions that I need to know. But anyway, Anna was not defending herself very well. It came across as very confrontational and very, not aggressive, but it just came across as very defensive to a point where, like, it felt like she was a traitor and she could have snapped. Like, for a moment, she fooled me there. And I was like, is she a traitor? I don't know. And then I was like, no, of course she's not. I know who the traitors are. That was what I mean by I really need a series where we don't know who the traitors are. Because that moment, I could have been like, it's definitely Anna. It's definitely Anna. That's too defensive. That seems like a traitor breakdown right there. But clearly, it wasn't. Then we moved on to Kaz. Now, this whole argument with Kaz was like just a bit baseless. I felt like Mina started on him, and like I give Mina a pass because she's a traitor. She's got to jump onto whatever bandwagon she thinks is going to get her further in the game. But all the other faithfuls, they got no excuse. Armani defended you. Why is that? And Kaz is like, I don't fucking know. What? I don't know. Like, people in this game defend people and they accuse people. Like, I don't know. It doesn't mean I'm a traitor. And then he was asked, well, why did you vote for Freddie instead of, like, other people? And he was like, well, I voted for Freddie because I thought he was going to go home as well. So I thought I'd vote for him and make sure that he had an extra vote to save me. And I was like, again, very, very fair. So then he was asked, like, yo, why have you not got any suspicions? And he's like, because I have been spending this entire game trying to survive and trying to get myself out of these situations for 4 round tables in a row now. I haven't had time to sit and think who I think the traitors are because I'm so time consumed with trying to save my own skin and make sure I stay in the game. And I thought, yeah, do you know what? Actually, fair point. I think it would be really hard to focus on who else are the traitors when you're sat there and you're just like, I'm having to defend myself from all angles. And then obviously Fozia kind of chimes in and then she delivers the immortal lines. Well, I actually do feel like it, like people are ostracizing him and it's not fair. Like, that's not okay. I thought, you know what, Fozia, call them out. Call them sons of bitches out. Joe especially. Joe's the worst. Oh, that man. Can we add him to Destiny's Childish? Because he's awful. He's an awful person. He's just so horrible. We'll talk more about him at the end. But then, obviously, Leon was like, nah, I'm backing a Kaz vote. I'm backing a Kaz vote. I think it's Kaz. Even though Fozzie had literally just stepped in and been like, nah, I don't think it's him. Like, let's stop bullying him, please. Please, let's stop bullying him. So, the last thing that happened in this round table was Livy bringing up the whole Freddie sitch. And, fortunately, Dan was like, nah, I'm backing Freddie. I feel like Freddie's chill. Like, Freddie's vibing. And Livy was like, nah, I think that you killed Maya to cover your own back and used it as a double bluff. And then I just thought, like, hang on a minute. This whole situation is you just assuming that he's dumb enough to do that or smart enough to think of it as a double bluff when it's literally neither. He's being set up, and he said that himself. He said, I think I'm being set up. And I was like, do you know what? Fair and valid. Good on him for calling it out. I'm glad that he was like, yeah, I genuinely do think I'm being stitched up here. And I thought, absolutely you are. Absolutely. Of course you are. Oh, it was frustrating. It was really frustrating to watch, I can't lie. So, this voting time was tense. It was a 3-way tie until about 3/4 of the way around the table. And I was like, this is stress. Then we came up on Death Corner and I was like, oh, it's done, it's done. So, we started off with Leanne voting for Freddie, Leon voting for Kaz, Dan voting for Anna, Linda voting for Anna, Livy voting for Freddie, Tyler voting for Kaz, Fran voting for Freddie, Joe voting for Kaz, Lisa voting for Anna, Freddie voting for Kaz, Alex voting for Anna, Charlotte voting for Anna, Kaz voting for Freddie, Jake voting for Kaz, Anna voting for Kaz, and Mina voting for Kaz. Those last 3, it was the nail in the coffin, I knew it. But we ended up with Kaz on 7 votes, Anna on 5 votes, and Freddie on 4 votes. And I was like, yeah, that is wild. And then we got the best exit line by a faithful, as he was like, yeah, so on day 1, oh no, what did he say? He said, Joe, who'd have thought you'd have caught me by the glimmer in my eye? And Joe was like, oh, because he said in the last episode there was a glimmer in your eye that just looked evil. And I was like, what stupid thing to base an accusation on. What a stupid person that is. And then it was obviously just that, yeah, who'd have thought? By the way, faithful, bye. And everyone was like, oh my God. And then Joe was like, I thought that was very cruel, actually. How could you play with people like that? Like, it's not okay. And then Dan was like, shut the fuck up, Joe. Shut the fuck up. And Joe was like, why are you taking things so seriously? And I was like, you literally just said yourself how, like, oh, I didn't appreciate that. Like, wah, wah, wah. And then when Dan's wah, wah, wahing over there, you're like, don't wah, wah, wah. Like, oh, God, can we get Joe out? Can we please kill or banish Joe ASAP? I don't know whether I can take the rest of the season with him. We've already had the most explosive and crazy, like, cast of traitors that we've ever had so far in this cast. They all fucking hate each other. They can't stand each other. Oh, so jarring, honestly. So before we head into Traitor's turret, Alexander and Fozia had a shield to give out. Fozia rather secretly gave hers to Leanne, whereas Alexander and Dan cooked up the plan to give it to one of Dan, Tyler and Mina to save all three of them from the chop. But Mina ended up with it, so it didn't really matter anyway because she's a traitor, which is really funny. But then Claudia walks in, she struts in, she does her stuff, she's like, hi guys. Hello, how are you today? And I was like, oh, is she here to recruit and murder? And she was. And they decided to go with recruit. But they chose like the three worst possible recruitees. And I was like, oh, this is all going to come crumbling down in their face. Like, all three of these people I'm convinced are not going to accept. And it's just going to be a fucked situation, I can't lie. It's just going to be fucked. But also, can Mina play it off? No, because someone's getting a letter. Ah, it's tough. It really is tough. They decided to choose between Fozia, Freddie and Anna. And the only smart person there is Fozia. But I reckon she'd say no. Whereas the other two are like, no, because we're under suspicion. So obviously we're just being brought in to be thrown under the bus. And that's exactly what they said. They said we need to hand them a traitor. And I was like, oh, this is so stupid, honestly. This is absolutely so stupid. So it remains to be seen whether they make the smart choice by going with Fozia or whether they just make a dumb fucking choice by going with the other two. But I'm just disappointed either way. Do you know what I mean? It's just disappointment central. But that is all we've got time for today. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment and subscribe. Do all that YouTube stuff that you guys do so well. And I will see you guys in the next episode, whenever that may be. But until then, keep on ranting. Bye now.